One of the oldest, maybe the most tangled questions in all of Christian faith is this: who's in charge? Who has the authority? It's the source of so many debates, so many divisions. So in this explainer, we're going to look at a model that just might offer a clear path through all that confusion. I mean, it really all boils down to this, doesn't it? When we disagree, and we do, about what to believe or how to live, where do you go for that final answer? That's the question, right? It's the one that sits at the very heart of so many theological disputes. So what's the first thing that comes to mind? For a lot of folks, especially since the Reformation, the answer is simple: the Bible. Sola scriptura. The Bible has the final say. But here's the thing. That can create its own set of problems. When every single person becomes their own interpreter, where does the authority really end up? Okay, so if not just the Bible, what about the church? Tradition, the ancient councils, the institution itself. And that's a good point. It gives you stability, a real connection to history. But the danger there, well, it can become rigid, right? A system that's so stuck in its ways, it can't be reformed or corrected, even when it needs to be. And then there's the modern answer: my experience. We want a faith that's real to us, something that connects with our actual lives. And that's so important. But what happens when my experience becomes the ultimate judge of what's true? Well, things can get pretty subjective really fast, and solid beliefs can just start to dissolve. So you've got the Bible, the church, and experience, and they all seem to be fighting for the top spot. But what if that's the wrong way to look at it entirely? What if they're not supposed to be in conflict at all? The source material we're digging into today proposes a totally different framework where they all work together. It's called the staircase model. And this is a game changer. It totally reframes the question. Forget the idea of a flat battlefield where everyone is at war. Picture this instead: an ordered staircase. See, it's not about fighting for who gets to be king of the hill. It's about joining a journey, a flow of authority that starts with God Himself and works its way down. All right, so let's do it. Let's walk down this staircase together and see how it actually works. We're going to take it one step at a time to really get what each part is supposed to do. Okay, so step one, the very top of the staircase. This is the source of everything, the Triune God. And this is so important. The model says authority isn't some abstract rulebook or a cold system. Nope. It flows directly from who God is, from His very being and character. And that right there gets to the heart of the whole thing. This isn't just about following orders. It's rooted in a relationship. God's authority isn't just power. It's the authority of a creator, a redeemer, a God who actually wants to be connected with us. So let's take one step down. Here we find Scripture. Now pay attention to the wording here. In this model, the Bible is the highest created authority. It's the primary God-breathed witness to who God is. Its authority isn't its own. It's borrowed directly from the God it points to. And this is absolutely crucial. Scripture basically sets the boundaries. It's the guardrails. It's the standard that everything else on the staircase has to be measured against. So, tradition and experience, they only have authority as long as they stay true to what the Bible teaches. Okay, next step down: Christian heritage. Now, what does that mean? Just think of it as the church's collective memory. It's the hard-earned wisdom from 2,000 years of wrestling with Scripture. We're talking about the creeds, the big councils, all those major theological streams. The source uses this great phrase, interpretive amnesia. Heritage is what saves us from that. It keeps us from having to reinvent the wheel in every single generation. It gives us stability. But, and this is a big but, look where it is on the staircase. It's under Scripture. That means it always has to be ready to be corrected by the Bible. And that brings us to the final step, right down here on the ground floor: experience. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's where faith gets lived out in the real world. It's our encounter with God in church, in our communities, and in our own personal lives. It's where truth becomes real. But here's the key distinction, and it's a big one. Our experience doesn't create truth, it confirms it. Think of it like a testing ground, where we see if what we believe actually works, if it bears good fruit. So it's absolutely vital, but it always has to answer to the steps above it, to heritage, to Scripture, and of course to God. So there you have it, all laid out. It's a clear, ordered flow. God at the top as the ultimate source, Scripture as the primary witness, heritage as our shared memory, and experience as where we live it all out. Okay, so we've seen all the parts of the staircase, but what's the engine that makes the whole thing run? Well, it all comes down to the direction everything flows.
The core principle is something called downward accountability. It's a simple idea, really. No step gets to go rogue. Each step is accountable to all the steps above it. So your experience is checked by heritage in Scripture. Heritage is checked by Scripture. And even Scripture itself is always pointing up, back to God.
So you get this really beautiful, layered, unified flow of authority coming down from the top. And the point of this structure is to make sure that no part of the Christian life, not the big institution and not my personal feelings, gets to operate all on its own. Everything stays connected to and regulated by God's revelation.
Okay, so that's the model. But let's get practical. What's the real-world payoff? Why should we care about structuring authority this way? What difference does it make for us today?
Well, think back to those other models we talked about. The source argues that this staircase framework actually solves the problems the others create. A Bible-only approach can easily shatter into a million different interpretations. A tradition-only approach can get stuck and refuse to change. And an experience-only approach can just dissolve into whatever feels right. This staircase model is designed to hold all those pieces together in a kind of healthy, productive tension. So what does this give us? Well, for one, it gives us humility. No person, no pastor, no institution gets to claim the top spot. That's reserved for God. It gives us stability, thanks to our shared heritage. But it also gives us flexibility, allowing us to adapt through real lived experience. And maybe most importantly, it changes the entire goal of authority. It's not about power and control anymore. It's about spiritual formation, about helping us become more faithful people. And at the end of the day, a model like this isn't just about winning a theological debate or drawing a cool diagram. It's about cultivating a certain posture, a whole way of living our faith. It's about learning to stand humbly under a God who speaks, who guides, and who is actively at work transforming us. And all of this leaves us with a pretty big question to chew on. This staircase model really challenges us to think differently. Is authority a ladder we have to climb, a competition we have to win? Or is it a gift? Is it a flowing river that we're invited to step into, a participation in the very life of God?